Hello, everyone. I am here to share my thoughts on the British mega pop band Coldplay's 10th studio album, Moon Music, which actually has a deluxe version that was just released a couple days after called the Blue Moon Edition, the Blue Moon side. Together, it is the Full Moon Edition. I don't know why they didn't release it on the day of release or why they didn't wait longer to put that side out. Waiting only 2 days, I don't quite understand that. I mean, even Taylor Swift, with her Tortured Poets department and then the anthology, she still released it the same night. It was just 3 hours later than the 12 o'clock a.m. release date of the side A of the album. I don't know why Coldplay waited until Sunday to release part 2 of this project, but why Coldplay is doing what they're doing these days is a mystery to many. Chris Martin has constantly been talking about, to the point where I think it's kind of embarrassing, how they are constantly on their swan song. He's been doing this since the 2000s, and a couple of years ago, there was this big press release about how they wanted to release 3 albums before 2025. And here we are with 1, although it kind of is 2, if you think about it, even though side B is just a lot of like repurposed versions of side A, and some live versions. But I do think, yeah, they're planning. I think the plan as of right now is for them to put out 2 more records and be done at 12. 12 is a decent number, so I could see that maybe holding. Of course, time, God knows how long it's going to take for that to happen. It's been 3 years since Music of the Spheres came out, and that came 2 years after Everyday Life. So I don't know if we're looking at a 2-3 year pattern in between these next 2 supposed final records. I almost wonder, but I doubt they're going to do this, but I almost wonder if perhaps their penultimate album will be called Sun Music or Music of the Sun, because that's a Rihanna album. Because they had Music of the Spheres, which was supposed to just be this celestial kind of ode to the galaxy, and now they're focusing in on the moon. So could they potentially want to do the sun, the day and night kind of comparison, the masculine feminine? Because I heard supposedly they want their final album to be self-titled, which could be understandable. But I don't know. That's just speculation on my end. Honestly, there's not a lot on this record that screams nighttime or crepuscular. Honestly, a lot of the songs give daylight energy. So the fact, even the album cover, I mean, it is technically like, I guess, a dusky kind of photo of the moon. It definitely isn't like the dead of night and like looking up at the moon. It's just nothing about this album is really giving moon music, with exception of maybe the title track. The title track with John Hopkins has this gorgeous kind of almost orchestral moment, followed by the gorgeous wistful piano balladry that I think Coldplay, Chris Martin, is definitely known for. And it's a good intro to the project. But then things start to get really pop and stadium filling with Feels Like I'm Falling in Love, which was the lead single. These songs are starting to sound a lot like one another for Coldplay. These filled with la la la's and kind of generic lyrics about hope and love and bringing people together. It's starting to get a little too kumbaya. And this is coming from me. I'm starting to really miss the edge in Coldplay. There's nothing that edgy on this project, and there certainly wasn't much edginess on Music of the Spheres, although Coloratura was definitely was a highlight, carrying the entire album on its back. I mean, the poor thing, barely completely hunched over there. A lot of people are, I think, in agreement that maybe Moon Music is overall a better package than Music of the Spheres, but what Moon Music is missing is a Coloratura moment, because I don't think that any of these songs, even the somewhat more abstract ones, are quite on the level of brilliance sonically, also lyrically, musically, that Coldplay has experimented with in the past. The lead single, it just feels like we've heard this a million times from them, and it's innocent enough. I don't hate it as a pop band, as a pop single off of theirs. It's not the most offensive. If we're going by like the most up-tempo songs that are sort of like party vibes, Good Feelings, featuring Ayra Starr, is definitely my least favorite. I believe that the Chainsmokers actually have contributed to the production on this. A bunch, along with Bill Rocco, Daniel Green, Max Martin. Max Martin, by the way, was on a lot of Music of the Spheres, and he is a lot on this as well. I really don't I really just don't know why Coldplay has decided that they are just unapologetically electropop. But, as an electropop fan, I should be happy for it, right? But there's something missing. There's something so inorganic. There's something so factory made about these pop songs. And so Good Feelings is probably the cringiest song on the record for me. We Pray, which was the second single, featuring Little Sims, Burna Boy, Eliana, and Tiny, is a hip hop foray to trying to be more urban, contemporary for the band. And I think most people find it a misfire if we're considering what Coldplay is most known for and what they're best at. Lyrically, it's a little generic, particularly in the Chris Martin verses. Although I do have to give them credit. Eliana is a Palestinian artist. And I always love to see Palestinian artists being spotlighted. The hook and the instrumentation is just a little lackluster. The guest spots are stealing the show, but Chris Martin feels like a placeholder for some other band, for anyone that could have been kind of brought into the mix. And it is a bit more of an ensemble song, but I just don't think that it's something that feels like it belongs on a Coldplay record. It feels like Chris Martin is featured on someone else's project. And I do think that, but the moments that stand out would be Jupiter. Jupiter is slight. I'd want a little bit more from the melody, but I do appreciate the subject matter. Jupiter, named for a planet, wasn't free to be exactly who she ought to be. She saw colors others couldn't see. Am I bad? Am I wrong? Am I weird in the head? The only one awake and everyone's in bed. For a woman to be free to love another woman, it's a beautiful sentiment expressed here. Jupiter longed to be herself or die. I love who I love. Still she followed the river where the river led, right up to heaven where the billboard read, I love who I love. Call and response-y kind of response there. It's a feel-good anthemic chorus, which will no doubt serve them very well in their massive mega stadium tours. Every single Coldplay song has to have that belt at the top of your easily kind of on kind of energy. It's very happy, clappy music. It's very happy, clappy. Track number 6 wants to be coloratura, but it falls flat for me, though that's not to say that I don't love the piano work with some of the ambient instrumentation. I actually prefer Angel Song, which is a variant of this song, but it doesn't have the more the guitar intros, which I do think bring an interesting, a rainbow comes after rain or in rain. So there's a storm and then it breaks, and then we have a vocalist talking about a 19th century song that they sort of sing along with the melody line to about, about a rainbow and how I've had so many clouds in my life, but that also means so many rainbows, which is a beautiful sentiment, but so schmaltzy and, hitting you over the head with it and then the whole kind of naming it an emoji, which, doesn't translate well to, like anything that isn't on your phone as a title. It's almost Cocoa Melon. It's almost Cocoa Melon. It's almost like Baby Shark level of juvenility. And I don't mind, this childlike wonder and innocence that the universe, it just feels played out after Music of the Spheres. I don't know, feels played out. I Am a Mountain is a stronger song. I believe this actually was originally from the Milo Xyloto era, which I think is fascinating that this actually song had existed in some form for that long. But it just has those keyboards and that crashing band sound that it amps you up in the way that Coldplay can do best. And so it feels a lot more, I think, as an ode to classic Coldplay records. Eterna is a house track that is very blissed out. This must be bliss, must be for this I exist, because I always want to feel like this. It was a really interesting experimentation. I don't think they've ever done a song in quite this in quite such an unapologetic club ready ambiance before. And so I give them a lot of flowers for that, and it is probably one of my more replayable songs for me on after first listen. All My Love is a snoozy, schmaltzy Chris Martin ballad that it feels like even in the melody line, we're retreading melodies of previous ballads he's done before. That just at this point feels so stale, feels so half baked, and like I said, kind of cringe. And I just don't really feel like he has that much interesting to say, and he almost doesn't quite vocally. Um, Feel as into it, though there's elements of heart. There's heart that comes through, and I guess that's Chris Martin's brand, is to just be this extremely relatable, happy clappy, kind of preacher. And even Imagine Dragons can be edgier than this. It is, yeah, it's starting to wear. And then One World is largely quite forgettable. There's a section of it where there isn't even any music, and it's again, when we compare to Coloratura, what that wonderful operatic way they closed Music of the Spheres, which was a very lackluster record. One World is sort of having the opposite problem. It's weighing the record down. I feel like it's almost one of the worst songs on the record because it feels the most aimless and I don't want to say pointless, but sonically it doesn't have any pull. And so the first half, again, I feel like the strongest are I'm a Mountain, Eterna, and Moon Music. Those are the songs that I would most recommend. Jupiter is also harmless, and Feels Like I'm Falling in Love is also fine. In the same way that I thought Higher Power was fine. I know a lot of people didn't like that song, but I thought it was serviceable, kind of catchy. And then, of course, we have the side B of the record, which is largely a lot of these songs reworked. We've got Moon Music LOD, which is basically just the piano portion of Moon Music from the first part. We also have new songs, The Karate Kid and Man in the Moon. Of those two, I definitely prefer sonically The Karate Kid, but neither song, I don't know. Again, they're not grabbing the attention. Um, but I just wanted to share thoughts on this project because I have always loved Coldplay's music. And I felt like, the concept was intriguing, even if I kind of knew when I saw the title and the cover what I was in for. Because Coldplay is becoming so predictable. And I really do hope that on their final two records, if that really is all we're getting from here on out, they are able to subvert expectations a little bit. Maybe it's like, okay, do they necessarily have to retread what they've done before? Not necessarily, but there needs to be interesting evolutionary risks being taken that pushes the band. And of course, them sounding like a actual band is important as well, which is something I think many old-time Coldplay fans lament today. It feels like Chris Martin and a bunch of producers, mostly these days Max Martin. But I do think that this is a minor improvement over Music of the Spheres, but not close to the brilliance of X and Y or even Everyday Life. Everyday Life is a good modern Coldplay record, and I actually have reviewed it on this channel. I'll also link my Music of the Spheres review. At some point, I am going to put together a video where I rank my top 20, top 25 Coldplay songs, so I will get that out at some point, although maybe I should wait until they've got 2 more albums. I should just wait till that date, but who knows when those will come, and who knows if Chris will change his mind. But overall, they are better than this. And also, I mean, them sort of being a vehicle for world music, there's different, lots of diversity in their features ever since Everyday Life, which again, I appreciate. However, it does start to, at a certain point, lack direction, when the lyrics in a lot of the cases are so vague. And the context around the inclusion of all these interesting artists gets a little lost in the mix. Um, but one thing I will say is that that falsetto harmonization humming that Chris Martin does in choral moments will still always be so haunting and stirring. At the end of Jupiter, there's a little bit of that, and there are moments of that in Rainbow. I mean, this gorgeous, kind of Sigarosian vocal that overlays over the piano is just so transportative, very calming. Um, and that's what I really appreciate from sort of the softer moments. Whereas All My Love doesn't exactly feel like it's pushing him vocally in interesting places. So those are my thoughts on new music. What are yours? Let me know in the comments. What are your favorite songs? And I hope you all enjoyed this review. I will see you all in my next one. Hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. Peace, love, and light. Bye.